Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We are back. We are back. I hope you guys enjoyed last week with the amazing messages that I had out there for y'all. I told y'all I've been doing this since 2020, 2015. I've been going live, releasing my God inspired messages, my teachings since 2015. So I always got a lot to go in and kind of dig out to share because, sometimes it just doesn't have to be a brand new message, right? So a lot of that old information is definitely still very important and it still matters. So I'm happy that I did take a week off. Right? I took a week off and sorry about yesterday. I thought yesterday was still Sunday. Don't get me the line. I'm like, I woke up and I'm like literally just chilling. Jelly Bean and I were chilling in the bed, watching. And then Sunday was just like, no, to the like my spirit was telling me it was Monday, and I was like, nah, it's Sunday. You gotta just love life. If you are brand new here, I am your girl Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. This is Morning Inspiration with Friends. We are here every day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you are watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay and down in the comments below so that I know that you were here, even if you wasn't here with me live. But if you want to come back live, I'm back tomorrow at 7 a.m. And this week actually might get me on Thursday. Since I missed yesterday, Thursday might not be a throwback Thursday. It would just probably just be I got a little something special. I need to do an update anyway of my toaster remote. So that's what we're gonna use Thursday for. Because it's been 2 years since I applied. So the whole process is like, wow, 2 years ago I made a huge decision in my life. So we're gonna talk about that. So this topic that I want to talk to you today about. This came to me on Sunday. So this is the message that I was anticipating on releasing yesterday. For those of you that don't know, I have a habit of overthinking sometimes. If y'all struggle with overthinking like me, put down a one in the chat or down in the comments because I know that it's a very difficult thing for many people to deal with, right? A lot of people overthink. They worry about things. Um, I've actually done like some guided affirmations for people that overthink. They right here on YouTube. So I will actually, after this live, I will share that guided affirmation because again, this is something that, you know, we hear all the time, like, God is going to do his part as long as you do your part, right? And a lot of times we would do the physical things, right? We'll do the tangible things that we're supposed to do, which is great. However, worrying, overthinking, and getting lost in that is not a part of what God wants you to do. And I had to learn that for myself over the years with this relationship with God and just understand, like, no, that is a part of faith, right? If you're sitting around worrying, if you're sitting around overthinking and you're analyzing every single thing and you're going over every single step that has happened, that is going in an alignment of, I don't have faith. I don't believe, right? Because you're sitting around worrying. And I know for many of years, I want to say like, I probably didn't get real good at this until about like 2018. So I'm not even gonna hold y'all. It still took me some years, but once I started to understand and just realize like I need to like breathe, right? And that was what came up in my guided in my self-reflection on Sunday. Um what dropped in my spirit was, and I wrote it down in the description, breathe out the rest when you no longer have control because you did your part. Breathe. Now breathe out the rest. There's nothing more that you can do besides what you have done tangible. There's nothing else that you can do. As long as you know that you have done your part and you have done the best part of making sure that you have the best equipment, the best information, the best knowledge, you've done your part. Now it's time to just breathe out and relax because there's nothing more that you can do because this is where we're going to leave the space for what? for God to show up and do what he does, right? So this is a two-way street. And this is a two-way street that I know many people struggle with. A lot of people don't know how to like really don't know the benefits of breathing out and resting and knowing that God has it. So I want to share three things with y'all today. So the first thing is that when you are overthinking, it's because you don't trust the outcome, right? Some of us said faith. Faith means that we don't trust the outcome. We don't trust that what's about to happen is going to actually happen. Especially when God is showing you something that you still don't believe can happen for you, right? And I think I had mentioned like the week before how Haitian CEO, I keep forgetting his actual name, but that's his Instagram handle, Haitian CEO. He had said like 2 weeks ago, like we're gonna believe God for the big things. We're gonna get a little delusional, right? And so many people might have started that, might have had great intentions, right? But then start to overthink. Well, is this really going to happen? Are you sure? I'm afraid of this, right? And everything is going to be, but if you don't trust the outcome, of course you're going to sit and you're going to overthink. Of course you're going to create narratives that did not exist, that does not exist today. And it's always for some reason, it's always in the realm of fear. It's never like when I think about people, including myself, when I think about the overthinkers, the people that sit around worrying, when they do come out with these outcomes of what could happen, it's never something that's like amazing. It's always like the worst case scenario. And I'm always like, and now, right, being in this space, this more healthier, healed space, understanding that overthinking is not going to give, it's not going to yield me any of the results that I truly desire, because I am going to be a part of the self sabotage of this, because that's what also happens when you don't trust the outcome, because that's telling God, I don't trust you. Right. And so God and I have had many of conversations over the years about that. Like, are you going to trust me or not? Right. So we cannot try to control this. Right. We cannot sit around and think that if we hold tight onto something that you're actually protecting yourself. You're not, because protecting yourself should come with peace. It should be a peaceful feeling. If you know that if God said do this, this, and this, and you do this, this, and that, right? And you know that if you do this and God has given you the instructions, if you have done all of that to the best of your ability, and now you just got to sit around and wait. And I think that's the problem, right? That's going to be the issue for so many of us, is that people don't know how to wait. The waiting game is so heavy for people, because sometimes you only might have to wait a few seconds, a few minutes, a few weeks. And for some people, and I believe that sometimes we are the reasons why it ends up becoming a few years, right? Because we're carrying on. We don't have any peace, so we're carrying on, and the weight of it is what's killing our peace. So that's the second thing. Your peace is gonna come when you honor your part and then you just release it. Your peace is gonna come when you honor your part. Because again, and that could be a part of it, is that, well, the things that you were told to do that you felt like you're supposed to do and you did it, now you might be questioning, did I do it correctly? Did I really hear that? Was that something I really heard? Right? A lot of different things come up for people when they don't have this peace, right? But like I always say, you hear me say it, show up and you show out, right? That's all that you have to do. You got to show up. You got to put forth some kind of effort. You got to use your minds. You got to use your common sense. you got to use you got to get some wisdom, right? You have to do that part. Do your job. Do it. Especially if you know this is the guidance that I received. I know I heard this, because God is going to give me the outcome. He's going to bring the results. He's going to bring the big bang. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we should want. But you got to realize I got to release it, right? This is the image that I've always, anytime I hear about these messages of release it, it's like, release it, let it go. Because you see how when you're holding on to something like this, you see the tension, right? You see it. Whether I'm about to, I'm hurting my hands because I got my nails digging into my fit, into my palm, right? This hand, I can't do that. So I got to hold on like this. But now I'm causing friction. You see, the wound that's on my hand for my psoriasis, I'm holding on, right? And when I release it, you see how relaxed my hands are? That's how God wants us to operate. Release it. Because when you release, then you can relax. And I get it. It's one of the hard, I'm dealing with something right now that it's one of the hardest things to just sit back and relax. But guess what? I know the outcomes of when I have done my part and I just sat back and I relaxed and I leaned into it. I know what those outcomes look like. I know that it always worked out for the better when I didn't sit around overthinking, right? When you sit back and reflect, this is why I say self-reflection is going to help with your growth. Because when you look at how you handle situations prior and and it might have worked out, but it might have taken longer. You had to do extra steps. You had to deal with some issues with family. You had some drama because you were sitting here overthinking. And now, because see, a lot of times when we forget, when we start overthinking, now we start, sometimes some people start doing the extra. They start doing more. And it's like, wait, God didn't tell you to do the more. He said just to do that part, give effort, use your common sense, use your wisdom, and then lean back and let him do the rest. He's gonna bring everything to the full outcome. But now you're starting to do extra because you're trying to do what? You're trying to do God's part, and we don't do well. So I want you to think about that. This is one thing I want you to really self-reflect for the next couple of days. How have you handled things, especially if you struggle? If you know someone that struggles with overthinking, send them this message. Because look, a lot of the stuff is not, it's not hard, but it is hard. I said this yesterday on a post because someone had posted. Let me see if I could quickly find this post because she had brought up a really good point. She said, this is on Threads. The young lady said, "Why is it that we're always told to pray, right? To pray that God got it, and for whatever reason, people are always like, oh, pray for me, pray for me." And she's like, okay, here it is. So, can a Christian explain this to me? If God has a plan, then why would anyone's prayers matter? If it's not according to his plan, then there's nothing begging can do, right? And I think the problem that a lot of people have is that so many people, one, they don't believe that God has a plan for them. So that thing that's the reason why people do get into a begging mode. The other part of it is that people do believe that God has a plan for them, and they are looking for prayers and they're going into prayer because there's certain things that they're still not comfortable with, right? I tell people this all the time. Prior to 31, I never wanted to get married. I had no desire to get married. I was in relationships in my mind. I was like, yeah. So when we break up, like that was my mind because I never had a vision, a taste for marriage. When God told me when I was 31 that you're a wife, I struggled with that, right? So his will was you're going to be a wife. That's his plan. At 31, and I'll be 41 this year. And it still hasn't happened. And I'm okay with that because, again, it's his plan, his will. But guess what I had to do? I had to get in agreement with that. So I spent like the first 2-3 years overthinking, worrying. I might have met someone that possibly I could have married, but I probably was overthinking. And again, when we overthinking, when we're worrying about things, it doesn't mean that the end goal is going to change. You're just delaying it, right? So I could have met someone that could have been my husband, but I self-sabotaged that, right? I sabotaged that. The person was like, I'm not putting up with this, and they leave, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people don't remember. So let's go back to the third thing, surrendering, right? Because this is basically what it is. When we're telling you to breathe, relax, they're basically telling you to surrender, right? CC Wyans, and I don't know if she was the original person that made this song, but it's called "I Surrender All." But I like CC Wyans' version. Brings me to tears every time. But surrendering does not mean that you're quitting. Surrender means that I have enough wisdom to understand that I've done everything that I can possibly do. Surrendering does not mean that I no longer care. It just means that I'm doing everything that I possibly can. And I'm going to trust and believe that God is going to carry me through the rest of this. That's what surrendering is. You're not a quitter. We know that you care, right? But we also have to understand that you can't do everything. This is why you have to surrender, right? You can't carry everything. You cannot do everything, because when you do that, they're not going to have peace. This is why seeing that end goal the way that God keeps showing you becomes harder, because you're trying to think of every possible thing. So when I got to about 35, was it? Well, every year, whatever age I was in 2021. 2021 was when I finally was like, I do believe this. I think this is possible. I'm going to do my part. Right. And that's when I went back into the dating, attempting to date in 2021. Got a coach, was working with a coach to help me to just look at relationships a little bit different, make sense of a lot of things like attachment styles, like things that we know but we don't know. And I made that investment, but I had to get to a point where I stopped overthinking, stop making excuses. Or, well, I know you're not really ready for marriage. Are you worthy of it? Are you going to find someone that you're going to like for another 20 years, let alone 20 minutes? Like, these are the types of things that you have to come to. And so when I finally got to that space, it did make it felt good, right? It feels good because now I understand, like, you just got to keep presenting yourself, right? You got to keep showing up. This person has to see you in your element. They have to know who you are. When you are meeting people, you have to actually like go outside. If you do trust, if God is telling you to go on dating apps, you got to trust that God is sending to you, and you're going to be a co participant in the selection process of these people, that you are the questions that God is leaning into you to ask, so that you can vet, and that you're not putting yourself in situations that God does not want you. You have to understand, everyone's going to have a different play out. But if the same end goal, we just have to just get to a point where we're like, all right, God, I believe you. And that's where I'm at now. I believe you. This is why I try not to subscribe to the content of all men ain't this, all women ain't that, because I believe that there's a lot of great people out here who are limiting themselves based off of physical and superficial standards. That's all that I believe. And so I had to work on a lot of those things myself, right? I had to be around people that are dating and being in relationships and are married with people that they truly like. And when you start to ask them, like, why do you like this person? The one thing that ends up being very common in a lot of those relationships that I have had with those conversations with those people is that physical is like one of the last things that they worry about. They're like, the character, the person, the provider, the leader, the sweetheart, the affectionate person. And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, and he's gorgeous. Oh, and she's beautiful. Like, it becomes those types of things because the priorities became a lot different. So I don't overthink it, right? It makes dating a lot easier. It still makes it uncomfortable, right? That's one thing I will say. It still makes it uncomfortable, but I'm in a healthier space of just being like, all right, God, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to live in this present moment, because I know that you're worrying about the future. I'm just going to worry about the present day. Good morning, Bola. How are you? Oh, Bola, you're going to want to come back and watch the replay of this one. I had some messages that you and I have discussed in past conversations. But they came up, and I thought about you. Once I said it, I was like, Bola. Well, good morning. I'm about to finish up, but you can always come back and watch the replay. But yeah, so I just want us to get into this, like the overthinking. It's not helpful, right? I'm not gonna say it's bad, but I do believe in my personal experience, it does delay and it causes you to get stuck, right? And when you get stuck, that is where you're going to be like, you're going to get frustrated. You're not going to have peace. You're not going to trust God because you don't have the control anymore. And that's what we want. We want you to get to a point of just do your part. Do everything that God told you to do exactly the way he told you. Whatever that blueprint is, if he gave you, if he said, and you went and sat down in your prayer closet, in your office, wherever, and God gave you a list of things that you need to do in regarding to that situation. As long as you do all of those things, all that you can do now is sit back and relax. Breathe. There's nothing more that you can do. That's it. Now, if you're not willing to do what God is telling you to do, then there's something for you to worry about. Then this is the reason why you might start overthinking and start worrying, because now you might be in a little bit of trouble, right? Spiritually, you're in a little bit of trouble because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, right? So we always, yeah, I'm an educator. So everything is going to always go back to homework. The students that want an A, what do? They get the syllabus, they read it thoroughly, they know exactly what they need to do. When those assignments come out, they follow those instructions to a T. If they're doing a discussion, they make sure that the prompt, they're doing everything that is being required because they want an A. But then I've always had students that want an A and they don't read anything. They don't answer the discussion prompts the way. They don't follow the instructions. Everything is late. And then at the end, they're stressing because they're like, but miss, I wanted an A, but you didn't do the work. You didn't do your part. As long as you do your part and you do it the way that it's required, then now we can sit and we can have these conversations. But it's typically the people that don't do their part. They want the big prize at the end. They want God to bless them. They want, because we always hear it, the windows, and he's going to sprinkle out the blessings. We want those things. But God is like, great, but I still need you to do your part. Because then when you do your part, you can go sleep, you can go lay down. Then you can go watch your favorite TV show. Then you can go make your delicious cup of coffee. Then you can go take your walk in the park. Then you can go and relax. But a lot of us can't do any of those things because we haven't done our part. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful feeling when you do get to that space, when you do everything that you know that you have supposed to been, that you have been told to do, and you did it, and you did it with excellence. You can sit back and you just be like, all right, God, I did my part now, whatever, have your way, right? Your will will be done. And that's a great place to be in. And that's one thing I want all of us. I want all of us to get to that space. So y'all know I do have a prompt for y'all. Hold on, give me a moment. So I want you to reflect after this and have this conversation with God. What am I still trying to carry or control after I already done my part? Now, everyone has a different situation as to what that means. Right? Like I said, I'm going through this as we speak in a matter in my life, but I want us to really think about this. What am I still trying to carry or control after I have already done my part? Okay? And then I'm going to just give you a follow up. What has happened when you didn't do your part? Right? Those are two things that I want you to think about. So I'm going to end here because we've been here for a while. As always, I'm so thankful to be back here with you all because y'all know I miss y'all. Yes, Bola, I love my questions. I try to leave every session some way that y'all can have a reflective moment and sit with God. Right? These are conversations because I have these conversations with God. I'm always like, trust me, there be some days I just been here reflecting and the tears just start coming out and you just start getting some more clarity, just a little bit more clarity. So I definitely hope that everyone takes it. I'll drop that also in the description. I mean, in the comments. I'll add the prompt as a comment, as the pinned, and you can always go back to that. But I am your girl Tanisha Shanae. If you want to connect with me, I do have my link in the description of my link tree. I have added. I'm going back to coaching, one-on-one coaching. So I have. If you are interested in working with me and you're not sure, I have reopened discovery calls. So if you go to my link tree, it's a free discovery call that you can schedule to meet with me virtually, and we can have a conversation. But if you are in that space where you're feeling stuck, you're not sure, you're trying to identify your purpose, or you know what your purpose is, but you don't really know how does that play out in the natural, right, in the real world, whether it's in your career, or just trying to play that in other aspects of your life and bring that to life. I would love to definitely support you in that. So, yeah, you can go to that and you can schedule your free discovery call and we can have that conversation. But until then, I'll be back here tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, and I am excited. And I hope you all have an amazing day today. Be well, be blessed. And as always, live life on purpose with purpose. And I love you. And you know, God loves you as well. Have a good one, everyone.